Come on in, everybody. It's time for the Southern Route. So, what's the Southern Route all about? Well, it's about Southern stuff. Southern people, Southern music, Southern food, Southern nights, Southern traditions, nostalgia, and so much more. So, welcome to the Southern Route. I'm here with my grandma, Granny Glitter, Candy Bass. Welcome to the Southern Route, Candy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to be here and talk to you because you know how much I think of you and how much I respect you. And I just think you've made such an impact in this industry. And I love hearing your stories. And I thought my audience would like to hear from you as well. So you've probably told it, a million times, but we're going to keep telling it until the day that you retire. So we want to know we want to know all about your trucking career. So let me set the stage for everybody. Candy, you are 78 years old and you have 6 million crash free miles, correct?
Yep.
That is quite an accomplishment, and I can guarantee you have seen some things in your 50 years of driving. You're celebrating 50 years of driving this year, right?
Yeah. I celebrate 50 years. I'm starting my 50th year, and it was really funny. I told somebody the other day, I said, I woke up and realized I'd been here 50 years.
Wow. That's amazing. So tell me how it all got started. So how did you start driving a truck? When did you start driving a truck? Why did you start driving a truck?
Okay, I was an apartment manager, and my ex worked with me. He was head of maintenance, and I was head of the apartment. I was the manager, and he decided that he wanted to go back driving a truck. And I said, "Well, fine, but you're not leaving me behind." I said, "I'm going to stay here all by myself." And he said, "Well, if you go with me, you're going to have to drive." And I said, "Well, I guess you'll have to teach me." I didn't even own a driver's license because I never did renew it, because all I ever did was go to the bank and grocery store. That's all the driving I did. So I never did renew it, where you need a driver's license. So we lived in Houston, Texas, and so you had to. We figured out what all I needed to get my permit, a license. Back then it was a commercial chauffeur's. And so we asked him what I needed, and I needed a truck that was a 5 speed. So we went and got the truck from Ryder Rental, and the people asked me, they said, "What do you want to do with this truck?" I said, "I'm going down here and get my commercial chauffeurs." Well, I only weighed 95 pounds, and this guy's looking at me like, "You're going to do what?" I said, "I'm going down here and get my commercial chauffeurs, and he's going to teach me how to drive a semi." And they said, "Well, we're just going to let you use it. We're not going to charge you for it. You're only going 5 blocks." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much." So I had 5 blocks to learn how to drive a 5 speed.
Oh my gosh.
So I went and took my test. I still to this day don't know how I passed that test, the written test, because I had no idea what a truck was. I just knew it was something big, and it was something I got out of the way of, and that's all I knew about a semi. So anyway, I passed my written test, and then I I went to get my little cop, and he got in the truck with me and told me where all he wanted me to go, and so I went everywhere he told me to go. And then we got back, and I said, "Well, did I pass my driving test?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "The only thing I could figure out is," he said, "you're so used to a 13 speed that's how come you're having problem with this 5 speed." And I said, "Oh, you are so right." Well, I didn't know what he was talking about, but it sounded good to me, so I was going to agree with him. So anyway, we took my truck back, and we told them I got my commercial chauffeurs, and they were just all excited for me. And so then we went and got us a job, and he told the people that he was going to teach me how to drive, and they said, "No problem." In 73, there was no schools or anything, and that that was how you learned how to drive, was somebody taught you.
Right.
Or you would go, because I have run across people that just went and got them a job, and went to the place where the trucks were, and they gave them a key, and if they could open up the door and get in, they had the job.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of my road tests, when the first place we went to work for, we were putting in McDonald's refrigeration, everything that went into McDonald's, we put it in there, and Arby's, and fast food places. And then he decided that he wanted to haul oil field equipment, because that way we could go long haul. So I said, "Okay, whatever." I didn't know what he was talking about, but
You're just
I just
along
went
for the
along
ride.
with it. I just went along with it because, I liked it. I liked what we were doing. And so then we started doing long haul, and it was really funny because we were pulling flatbed and oil field equipment. So some of them places, there were no women in them places. That women didn't work in the steel mills and stuff back then. They might have worked in the office, but they didn't work in the, where they took care of the steel and stuff. And so I I'd get out of the truck, and everybody's staring at me like, "What is she doing?"
Well, and
And
you were 95 pounds and blonde. You were this little sex kitten out there.
I got so tickled though. Um, we went to this one place in Wyoming, way back. I mean, some of these places that we took they're called sucker rods, and they were they used them when they were drilling. And so anyway, we went back in there, and I always stayed in the truck, because I didn't want to cause any problems, anything. There wasn't a whole lot I could do, because I couldn't even pick up a chain. I could drag it, but I couldn't pick it up. It was too heavy. But anyway, so one of the guys come over there, and he said, "Ma'am," he said, "I'd like to ask you if you would do something for me." And I said, "Sure. What would you like for me to do?" He said, "Would you make us some coffee?
Oh,
We're so sick of the coffee that we make, and we know good and well you know how to make coffee." I said, "Oh, sure. I'll go over there and make you some coffee." So I made them some coffee, and oh man, they were just grinning from ear to ear, because they got some coffee they could actually drink.
you've been taking care of people since way back.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I didn't mind, and I helped. I would help chain, and he taught me how to do that. I would tie a rope onto the end of the chain and throw the rope over the load, and then you drag the chain. But all I could do was throw the rope, and then he would drag the chain because it was still too heavy for me. And I got tickled. He was tightening up this one chain, and he said, "Come over here. I need an extra 50 pounds so that way I can lock this down." And I said, "Oh, okay." And there was, people standing around watching, and so I grabbed hold of the lever with him, and then he let go.
Oh.
And I'm hanging. I'm hanging there because it's not going to move on my weight. They're all laughing. They just had fun.
I don't want to leave y'all hanging, but we do have to hop out for a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
I'm Ron Samuels. We put it in reverse gear so you can enjoy the history of popular music and hear the soundtrack of life Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central, right after the train station on tncradio.live.
Building Strong Minds with Dr. Christopher Kortman every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. As a professional driver, you are always being told about the importance of physical fitness, your health. But what about mental fitness? On the show each week, we take on a new topic, from loneliness to the power of gratitude to how to build strong relationships, all from the perspective of a driver's life. Every Monday on TNC Radio Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Building Strong Minds.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Join Tom Kelly and the rest of the team each day on the Morning Grind. Then stay tuned for an encore presentation of last night's Landline Now. Weekdays on TNCRadio.live.
It's Truckers Life Radio from TFC Global with your host, Ron Frazier. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we're helping drivers as they travel life's highway. I love that. The spiritual side, drivers face a lot out on the road. Truckers Life Radio digs in on the spiritual and moral questions that drivers face on a daily basis. You don't want to miss it. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
We're back on the Southern Route with Grandma Candy Bass, and you have to continue this story, Candy. There's another couple at this facility too, so tell us what happened.
It was fun. And then one time we went to Pennsylvania, and the steel mill over there. Well, I wasn't allowed in the steel mill, so I had to sit in the guard shack. And then there was another husband and wife team came in, but she didn't drive. She just, went along for the ride. Oh, and she's throwing 10,000 hissy fits because they made her get out of the truck. And I thought, well, lady, you throw a fit, won't let you come back.
That's true.
And I thought, still, so they won't let us. There are no women in that steel mill, and they don't want something to happen to one of us, somebody in the steel mill, so they asked us to check. No big deal.
I think you've always had a positive outlook, though. You don't get offended by things easily, and you don't let things ruffle your feathers like a lot of people do.
No, I heard a female driver that when she first started driving, And I really felt bad for her because if people did really treat her that way. I really feel bad because, I mean, I've never had anybody, anytime I needed, but now, when I would walk up to this person to ask them for help, I didn't play no games. I just told them flat out what was wrong. I let them know that I didn't know what I was doing when it came to backing up a trailer, and I never had anybody tell me no, they weren't going to help me. They would come over there if they needed to. They backed it in for me. If they wanted me to get in and then show me what I needed to do, they would do that. I mean, I was all I I never had anybody treat me like that. Where they wouldn't help me or they would laugh at me, or they might laugh at me and make fun of me if I tried to do it all by myself when I was first learning. And they'd come over there and ask me, "What in the world do you think you're doing?" I said, "I have no earthly idea."
But I
I
think it's
said,
the way you approach things. And sometimes, we just have to laugh at ourselves and say, you're right, I don't know what I'm doing. So help me learn. And most of the time, people are willing to help do that.
"Oh yeah, they were always, like I said, I never, and to this day, I will tell this. I got years older, but it's over. He'll look at me and I said, "I'm still trying to figure out how to pick up this trailer." And I said, "So would you mind coming over here and help me? Because I don't know what I'm doing, but it ain't working." I'll come over there and they'll show me what I need to do. Because sometimes some of them places are really hard to get into, and sometimes I do have to go get help. And I'm not ashamed to go get help. I'd rather go get help than tear up equipment or take forever to back it into the dock while other people are trying to get their stuff done. So, I just soon go get help than, you know,
Right. And get it done and move on to the next thing.
and a lot of times I'll see this and there ain't nobody around. I say, "Okay, Lord, it's your turn to drive." And I'm sure glad he knows how to back up a trailer
That's right. He's a good
because
pilot, right?
I've had people come over to me and say, "How in the world did you get that in there?" I said, "You want to know the truth or you want a made up story?" And they said, "Well, I guess I want the truth." I said, "Lord, it's your turn to drive."
There you
And
go.
I said, "It's a good thing he knows how to back up a trailer because I had no clue what I needed to do. And he helps me."
I love that. He helps us even when we don't realize he's helping us. He's helping us. But I love that you're sharing your faith as well.
Now the thing of it is, I couldn't do this without my faith. I couldn't do this because the other day, I think it was yesterday, something was going on, and I said, "Boy, thank you, Lord, you got me out of there." And oh, I I had to deliver my load, and I got in there 3 hours early, and they went ahead and took me and unloaded me. And I said, "Thank you, Lord."
That's right.
Because you know, he's there helping me. I know good and well he's the pilot of this truck because there there's just and years ago I hauled when me and Chuck split up. I started hauling produce, and I mean the produce markets that I went to was not in a good part of town. Every one of them was in the worst part of town, and I even went to Hunts Point Market, and all them stories that you've heard about Hunts Point Market, honey, they're true. Because I can vouch for it because I lived some of it. And, you know, so if God wasn't there with me, I'd have never made it because most of them places, them markets back then, that it was not a good place.
I think
You know,
I think the Lord's been with you really since day one. I mean, you've told this story too a bunch of times, but you were in an accident years ago as well. Um, and there's a tie-in to this. I'll let Candy tell the whole story, but back in 2016, Candy was chosen as the TA Petro Citizen Driver. If you don't know what that is, you have to go look it up. But every year, TA Petro has drivers that are nominated to be Citizen Driver of the Year. And sometimes they choose two, sometimes they choose three. But in 2016, Candy was chosen as one of the TA Petro Citizen Drivers. And her store, they get to choose a store, and then they put their name on the store. And Candy chose the Nashville TA, and that's called the Candy Store. But there is a whole story related to that, like, a big revelation that happened as you were getting this Citizen Driver Award as well. I'd love for you to tell that story again.
okay. Well, I was in 1987. I was in a cab over Freightliner, and I was on my way home. I was going eastbound, and in New Mexico back then, the right-hand lane was so bad you could not stay in the right-hand lane and drive it. You had to drive in the left-hand lane. So whenever I would see people come up behind me that may be going faster than me, I'd always get over in the right so they could, pass me and go on. Well, a pickup truck was towing a motorhome, probably 32-foot motorhome, and it was just a little regular pickup truck. And when he got up to me, he's in the right-hand lane, and when he got up to me, the motorhome hit me in the steer tire because it was real windy that day and hit me in the steer tire, so I went for a ride. And I ended up being upside down and ended up coming out of the windshield, but my right leg was wrapped around the gear shift. Thank God it was, or I'd have flown out of the windshield and the truck would have drove over top of me.
Oh gosh.
But anyway, I was hanging upside down, but I was still hooked to the gear shift, and they had a small group of EMTs come to me, and then they called the trauma center in Albuquerque, and they flew out an EMT, and the person that at the time, the person that they flew out, thank God they sent him because he had been a corpsman in Vietnam. So he knew how to take care of somebody that was tore to pieces. And I had, you name it, I was cut up. And so they finally got me out of the truck, and they got me in the airplane, and they said I fought them because I didn't know where it was. I had no idea what was going on. And so they got me to the hospital, and I had 9 operations the first night just to keep me alive. And then I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and then they flew me home to Oklahoma City, and I was in the hospital there another week. And they told me I was going to stay in the hospital 6 months. And I told them, oh, no, I'm not.
Stubborn,
show
stubborn when you
you.
came out of the womb, I bet.
I told him I'll show you. I'll get out of here before then. And I think some of the doctors must have figured out, tell her she can't do something and she'll show you she can.
There is more to this story that you don't want to miss. We will be right back after this short break here on the Southern Route on tncradio.live.
Be sure to catch the Truckers Network radio show with your host, Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on tncradio.live.
As a professional driver, the engineers at Front Lane know that you remain focused on the road regardless of weather and traffic conditions. That's not always true of the drivers behind you. Every 9 minutes, another commercial vehicle is rear-ended by a driver failing to control their speed. And guess who gets the blame? When you have to brake quickly, Tailbone illuminates a series of bright LED lights that allow the driver behind you to react up to 50% faster. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Tailbone meets the standards set by the NHTSA and the FMCSA. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/tailbone. That's www.frontlane.com/tailbone. Approved in all 50 states, it's Tailbone by Front Lane.
Catch Landline Now every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, along with an encore presentation weekdays at noon, right here on tncradio.live.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
We're back on the Southern Route with Candy Bass, and we're ready to hear the rest of the story. Go ahead, Candy.
So anyway, ended up, getting put back together and everything, and then he sent me to school. I was going to be in an office and not go back to driving a truck. Well, one of my friends told me that all the people on the highway, truck stops and everything, need to see that I was okay. And he said, my wife told me that you could make a trip with me. So I asked my doctor if I could make a trip, and they said, sure, go ahead. So I made a trip with them and let everybody know that their prayers was answered and I was still okay. Just a little beat up and scars and stuff everywhere, and got back, and I thought, no, I ain't going to work in no office. So I had to go through workman's comp court and everything, and they were getting worried because they didn't know what that judge was going to do if I said I was going to go back driving a truck. Well, she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I want to go back driving a truck. She thought that was the best thing she'd ever heard in her life.
Wow.
So one of my friends decided that he said, well, just team. And everybody said, you were in a bad wreck. I said, yeah, but the only good thing about the whole thing is I don't remember it.
Oh.
So I have no fear. So I think it was the first. Dave Nemo is the cause of all this stuff, of me meeting everybody and everything, because I got I'd been going to the truck shows, but I had never stayed. I would always go back to the terminal, or when I was at Louisville, I'd get me a motel room and I'd see everything I wanted to see during the day, and then I'd go to the motel room. I didn't know anybody. So then Dave Nemo got on satellite radio, and I had XM radio, and I found him, and they were talking about the Dallas Truck Show. And so I started going to the Dallas truck shows. The first person I met was Dusty Chrome, and got to meeting everybody. And then I joined the Special Olympic Convoy thing, and that's where I met John Osborne. And so we had known each other this one day there at the Dallas Truck Show. I think we'd known each other 3 or 4 years or something like that. And so anyway, I was standing there next to him. He was cooking brats, and this driver come up, and because it's 100 degrees outside, I had a short sleeve shirt on, and this driver come up to me and he said, "What in the world happened to your hand?" I said, "Oh, I was in a wreck. I'm a rebuild." Well, I had never said anything to anybody, like John or anybody, because nobody asked, and so, there was no reason to talk about it if nobody asked.
Yeah.
And so,
And let me tell everybody who John Osborne is. You just heard her say she had been friends with a gentleman named John Osborne. John used to drive. Everybody knows him. He's been a driver, but everybody knows him as driving the OOIDA Spirit truck. He drove that truck for many years, and he's retired now. And our friend Marty Ellis drives that truck now, but John drives the OOIDA truck, the Spirit truck. Was he driving it at that time?
No, he was driving his own truck. He was
Okay.
he was an owner operator, and he was driving his own truck. He hauled like paintings and stuff. He hauled high dollar stuff, or if a colonel or something was moving, then he might haul his stuff. I mean, he was up there on the top shelf.
Okay.
So anyway, he was standing there, and this guy kept asking me questions and kept asking me questions, and I said, he asked me, "Well, where was it at?" And I said, "At the 62-mile marker in New Mexico, on the eastbound side." And then the guy started asking some other questions, and John started saying, "Well, she had this, she had this, she had this, she had this," and started naming off all this stuff that was wrong with me. And then he said, "And she had a broken collarbone." And I looked at him and I said, "How'd you know I had a broken collarbone?" I said, "Because I've got medical records from that hospital as big as a Chicago telephone directory, and there's not one word in there about me having a broken collarbone. And the only reason I found out was because when the workman's comp doctor had to release me, he had to go through all this x-rays and stuff and found out I had a broken collarbone, but it healed on its own because I was still for the first 3 weeks." He said, and I said, "So tell me how you knew I had a broken collarbone, because I've never talked to you about this stuff." And that's when he told me he was the EMT, and I about fell out.
Oh my gosh. So you've been
So
friends
then,
with John for like 3 years and
yeah,
didn't know
and
he was
then
the EMT that saved you.
well, I would have never known it was him anyway, because I don't remember, much about it. And two, he didn't know who I was, other than I was a truck driver that was tore to pieces, and he had to get me back to the hospital, and try to keep me from bleeding to death and stuff. And so he never saw me after that, because they try to keep you away from them, because I tried to find out who they were so I could thank them. and they wouldn't let me know nothing because they're afraid if something should happen and I try to sue them or something like that, you know.
So is
And
that the
so,
day that he realized it that day too?
yeah, he realized when I told that guy, because he was the first person that ever asked me.
Wow.
You know, nobody else had ever said anything. They thought it was a burn or something. Nobody ever, you know, because most of my other scars, my hair covers them up and stuff, and unless I'd have to wear some really super short shorts to see some of the scars on my legs and stuff, and I don't do that out there on that truck. But anyway, and so then when we won the Citizen Driver Award, Leslie called me and she said, "I want to know about this wreck you went." I said, "Whoa, wait a minute." I said, "I did not have a wreck." I said, "I had somebody that had a wreck and hit me. It ain't my wreck, it's their wreck."
Right.
And she said, "Well, can you tell me anything about it?" I said, "Not really." I said, "All I know is what people tell me." I said, "Do you know who John Osborne is?" And she said, "Yeah, I know who he is." I said, "Well, you call him up and he can tell you all about it." I said, "Because he was there." And we didn't know that he had won, and I didn't know he won. He didn't know that I won until the night before.
And you all won the same year.
Well, see, they're not allowed to tell nobody now.
Right.
So anyway, the bigwigs of TA come over there that night, and they said, "Look, we want to know if after everything is settled and everything, before you go off that stage, would you mind telling everybody your story about John Osborne?" I said, "Oh, no, I don't mind." I said, then I found out that the only reason they knew about it was because he told on me.
Stinker. It's great that you and John can laugh about this story years later, and we're thankful you are here to tell this story. But the recovery from that accident was no joke. You know, we'll hear more about this after the break. This is the Southern Route here on TNCRadio.live.
Hot Shots Secret presents Steve Summers' Overnight Drive nightly at midnight Eastern, 11 Central on TNCRadio.live or download the app .tncradio.live.
Ready for the power of positive and something that will put you back to a time you wanted to last forever? Music is the ultimate time machine. What was your favorite time? Do you want to go back there? LTD Radio features the songs of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that will transport you to a happier time. It'll make you smile and brighten your day. We could all use that about now. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the great music of LTD Radio.
For the latest in rideshare and gig economy news, visit UberLiftDrivers.com. That's UberLiftDrivers.com.
I'm Shelley Johnson with Kathy Tuccaro. You can hear us Tuesdays on TNCRadio.live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Women Road Warriors. And don't miss Steve Summers' Overnight Drive right here on TNCRadio.live, weeknights midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern. Brought to you by Hot Shots Secret.
Hope Savara here. Tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on TNCRadio.live for my new show, The Driver Life Podcast. From your feet to the food you eat, from cellular health to how your cell phone affects your health, from how you move to improving your sleep. I believe it's the small, simple changes that lead to the big results in your life so that you can feel good again. We cover it all here on the Driver Life Podcast, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on tncradio.live.
We're back with our final segment for tonight's show with Candy Bass.
I can say one thing about the wreck and me being put back together and everything. All my nurses and everything, because I worked hard to get back together because I figured there was no amount of money that was going to take my hand away from me, or, I was going to make sure that all those people that prayed and cared about me, that they were going to know their prayers weren't wasted. So I worked hard in all the rehabs and stuff like that. And so I was in my apartment. Now, when I walked, you had to really look at me and to see me walking, because I didn't walk very fast. I was really slow because I was still learning how to, because I had broken my femur, in my right leg, so I had to learn how to walk again. So anyway, I was vacuuming my carpet in my apartment, and I couldn't get out of the way of my vacuum cleaner and cut my foot.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm sitting there just crying, feeling sorry for myself because I had cut my foot. So I had to go to rehab. So I got in the car and I got to thinking, and I said, Lord, am I doing this all by myself? I said, I'm having to go all this rehab and everything all by myself. Why am I all by myself? And I guess I got this word from the Lord, I guess you'd say. I got to thinking, well, where would I have been if I had somebody here with me all the time? I'd probably be sitting over there in that corner going, oh, poor me. I said, so I'm just fine. Thank you, Lord, I'm fine. Got to the rehab center, and the girl said, what are you crying about? I said, well, I cut my foot. And she looked at that, she said, oh, my Lord, let me get some stuff here. And you really cut it. I said, yeah, I couldn't get out of the way of the vacuum cleaner.
Oh.
She said, oh, we now know you're okay. I said, what do you mean? She said, we were getting really worried about you. She said, because you're always in a good mood. You're always laughing and cutting up. And we were waiting for you to fall. Because we knew this had to hit you sometime. And I said, well, it hit me this morning when I couldn't get out of the way of my vacuum cleaner.
Bless your heart.
I felt sorry for myself. I said, but me and God had a talk, and we're just fine.
Yeah, you didn't stay there.
Yep.
So,
and I made it, and I ran team for a little while and realized I could still do this. And so I started by myself, and here I am, 50 years
50 years
78
later.
years old, and still driving for the time being.
Yeah. Are you planning on retiring anytime soon?
No, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to get me another job.
Okay.
Because retire means you go home. Okay, if I go home, all my kids and everybody works. So that means I'm going to sit in that house all by myself. No, I ain't going to sit in no house all by myself. And you can't go shopping that much because you run out of money.
True.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and I want to go to work at a truck stop and work over there and be a service rider. I don't want to be cashier. I wanna be over there, and I'm gonna keep my CDL. So if anything should happen, I can, you know, if I don't like what's going on, I go back driving the truck if I want to.
There you go. Sounds like a good plan. I don't see you sitting at home doing nothing at all. So that's never going to be an option for you.
No,
So
no,
what do
I
you
can't.
think has been the hardest thing about being a female truck driver?
About the only thing I think that's the hardest thing, I don't think it has anything to do with being a female, just has the fact that I don't know how to blindside. And that's about the hardest thing I've had to do. But other than that, I've had a really good life. I've had 50 million babysitters. I went to work for Willie Shaw back during the cab over days, and I decided that it was there at Gallup, New Mexico. There was a mall there, and you were allowed to park your truck in there. So I told him it's about 5 or 6 of us. We were all going to California. I told him, I said, well, I'll see y'all after a while. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go shopping. So I pulled in there and I looked up. Every one of them was in there with, well, we're going with you. I said, I know how to go in this store all by myself. No, we're going with you. I said, okay. So, and then they were going to pick out a bathing suit for me. You can imagine what that would have looked like.
Gosh.
I told them, oh, no, that ain't happening.
Lord have mercy.
Just like at the ceremony there at the Louisville Truck Show when we won the Citizen Driver Award. Well, the ceremony was over with and the show was over with. I had to go back to the motel downtown, to be with the other nominees and winners and stuff. And one of the drivers had rented Sierra
Yes, Sierra Sugar.
and Alan.
Yes.
The driver, they don't take the limousine to take me downtown.
Aw.
So, but they brought 2 of them. The guys brought 2 of them. It was a regular, long, 2 or 3 car limousine, one of them real long things. The other one was a party bus type thing. And they looked at me and they said, come on, look at that. I said, no, you ain't getting me in there. They said, why? I said, because I can see what's in there and I know good and well what you'll do to me. You'll get me in there and then start taking pictures and put them all over Facebook. I said, no, you're not getting this grandma in there. And because it had one of those stripper poles.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of them party, buses that you see in Nashville with all the girls hanging out, And I said, you ain't getting me in there. I'm not going in there. Oh, come on, you want to look and see what. I said, no, I don't. I said, because I know you too well. You will. As soon as I put my foot there, you will take a picture of me and put it on Facebook. I ain't get this. And I told him, this grandma is not going in there. So I got in the other one.
That's hilarious. Yeah, they would have blackmailed you with those photos forever.
They put them on there so it wouldn't have been funny. I mean, not to hurt me or anything.
No, just to be funny. Yeah.
Just to be fun and stuff. But I don't know, not this grandma. You ain't doing that.
Maybe we should do that for your celebrating your 50 years. Get you one. We'll make a candy calendar and it'll be in the party bus on the stripper pole.
No, ain't happening. No, ain't happening. Nope. It is not happening. Not this girl.
Oh my gosh.
I'm 78 years old. I've never done anything like this, and I ain't gonna make somebody think I started doing it.
Well, that's true.
I'm taking a picture of me
You've been a good girl
Mhm.
for 78 years. You're not changing that now, are you?
Nope. 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 I ain't gonna start nothing I didn't. I always felt like don't start something you know good and well you're not gonna finish. So,
That's a good
so,
motto.
so I ain't gonna start that because that's for sure. I ain't starting it so that way I don't have to worry about finishing it.
That's right. That's right. And who's got the energy, right?
No, I don't know. I don't want to find out either.
No, you've
I'll
been
let everybody, I'll watch them on the stage, because Pink, that singer Pink,
yes.
she does, and and with the ribbons and stuff like that.
And you're gonna leave it to
And
her, right?
I'm gonna leave it to her. She does real good.
She does a good job.
Yeah, that you need no old woman doing something. Me going to the beach, and they'll say something. I said, "Yeah, old woman in one of them bathing suits."
Oh my gosh. No.
Because
No
I've seen
bikinis
it.
from me.
I've seen it, and I'm going, "Oh Lord, that ain't happening. Not this old woman."
Y'all, that's all the time we have for tonight, but we're going to continue the conversation with Grandma Candy Bass next week because after 50 years, there's more to the story. There's more stories to share, more laughter along the way, more insight in the trucking industry and what she's seen in 50 years. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I hope you'll plan to tune in again next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern for the Southern Route here on TNCRadio.live.
Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today.
Don't forget, you can hear all of our TNC Radio primetime shows again on our podcasts. Just go to tncradio.live/podcasts or search for tncradio.live wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey drivers, did you hear music on tncradio.live that you really liked? Or maybe you heard us interview an author of a book you'd like to read or listen to. You can get the books, music, and other products you hear about by going to our website at www.tncradio.live and clicking on the shopping cart.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.